Hey y'all, I'm Amanda.
And I'm Drusilla.
I'm Melissa.
Hello, this is Morgan.
And I'm Penny. Welcome to our podcast today. Welcome to another episode of Five Lemons Laughing. We're so grateful that you are here listening to us. Oh, what we're talking about today is actually like, what are we doing? What does a spiritual work look like? Are we striving? Are we seeking? Are we looking for spirituality? Or can we just sit back and relax and be? Yeah. This week, we're talking about the paradox of spiritual growth. Like, why are we chasing enlightenment? Why are we chasing happiness? What if the act of chasing is actually blocking it? Oh, so take a deep breath. You know what? Or don't. Either way, we're exactly where we're supposed to be. And that's what we're talking about today. Isn't it funny? Like, enlightenment, just the thought of enlightenment, of being, it's such a society thing to think that we have to work at it, right? Like, it's not worth it if we don't work at it.
Or it won't come if we don't work at it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's like that, the more you work at it, the more you run after it, the further it gets away.
Mm-hmm.
Or the end point seems further and further and further out. I faced this actually in my meditation. I really had to realize that a lot of the grounding stuff, the loving stuff, the reading the stuff, it was all still doing the stuff. Mm-hmm. And I really had to realize that it's really more about the being, the just sitting and the just breathing and the just realizing that you're already one, we're already completely connected. And to kind of like fall into that rather than chase after something.
Yeah.
I agree, Melissa.
What that's bringing up for me right now is like striving for, thinking it is in the future, mm-hmm. is a little bit different than practicing being in the present, right? That's so for me, I do have to practice coming back to, I use the word enlightenment in the, in the intro. And let's just define that. Who can define enlightenment, right? Like, what does that really mean before we get into like, are we chasing enlightenment?
Penny, do you want to look that up?
Yeah.
Hey, I can look that up. Well, okay, so let's just workshop it without looking anything up. How about that?
Let's do it.
Let's just do that.
Let's do it.
Enlightenment. So in light, right?
In light, right?
In
yes.
light.
Be in light. That's
Mm-hmm. And what does ment mean? Enlightenment.
Maybe the practice.
The act of doing.
A state of, or something like that.
Yeah. So just being in a state of light, mm-hmm. which would mean that we are, we're one, we're love, we're connected. That's what I see when I see light. What do you guys see?
No suffering.
Right. I think of love when I think of enlightenment. Mm-hmm. Like when people say love and light, that's what I put those two things together. Like light, the opposite of dark, and darkness for some reason has, scary, fear, anger, resentment type of connotations for me. So lightness is the opposite of that.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
I would say a consistent state of awareness is what it feels like to me.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. And a break from being involved in the suffering of the world, like your own suffering within the world. You have, because you're at a different place where you're not engaged in that.
And so that's what enlightenment means to you, mm-hmm. Melissa, right? And not engaging in the world of
not suffering in the world.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, that's a big one.
That's a big one. Yeah.
I was just talking to my husband this morning about, as soon as we have expectations, we start suffering. Mm-hmm. And
attachments.
That was kind of hard for him to he actually started making it kind of a joke. But I really believe that you were just talking about suffering, Melissa, that, yeah, so enlightenment would be having no expectations and just accepting what is versus thinking I know what's best for others.
Don't
Being
go
in
crazy,
the
man.
flow.
Yeah, being in the flow. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Oh, just pause for a minute and just think about that. Just, like we're floating down a river. It's a beautiful summer day. And yeah, we're just floating, going with wherever the current takes us. So beautiful.
Mm-hmm. So in that sense, so enlightenment, it sounds like what we're describing is a state of being. It is a state of not doing. Yeah, being. So that
even when you are doing, you're being. Instead of focusing on the doing, you're still in the level of awareness that this body and this experience, it's all still not, you're not attached to that.
So expand on that a little bit more, Drusilla.
Meaning that you're not necessarily going to just sit on, on the earth somewhere and just stay there. You still participate in life, but your level of consciousness is that this is not, your body is not who you are. And these things that you're doing, they have no impact on you, on your essence, on your peace. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So what I heard, Drusilla, is so enlightenment in, one sense is not attaching to the bodily form. It's seeing beyond that, like the seeing to and working from the connected state, the state of all. That's what I heard from that, just to say it a little different. Is that what you were talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but okay. And not but, and
I love and.
And is beautiful.
And it's beautiful.
And what if something comes up and disturbs that flow for a few minutes? Then, Drusilla, what would you do with that? Like, let's say they're spraying Roundup in your neighborhood, or they're, stuff is going on in the government that's irritating you, or, your, I don't know, your best friend didn't call you to congratulate you for some big award you got or something like that. So what do you do with that if you're an enlightened being?
Well, are you asking this Drusilla or the enlightened one?
Well, I would like the response from both Drusillas.
Yes.
This one would get pissed off. Talk shit, okay?
Yes.
She has those days, but the ideal, the sage Drusilla, which is the Drusilla that I've always known that I was born to be, that Drusilla doesn't know or care about Roundup or a Donald Trump or a and that's not far-fetched, we give power to whatever we choose to give power to.
Yeah.
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 I don't think
like the example about the
piece.
Yeah, just like the example about the food. It's this Roundup is no different. The food, if you eat a piece of cake and you're thinking, oh, I shouldn't have cake, just bless the cake and ask for the cake to bless you, right? It's really no different. And do we really think Donald Trump has that much power? No, God has all the power, even beyond, in between that. Let's just say that there's so many more things that could happen between Donald Trump and God, even.
What about those people that were taken to El Salvador and who knows how they're being treated while we try to get them back to the US to get their due process? I mean, what about those guys? That's kind of has me worried. And maybe I don't need to be worried. Sorry about that.
Right. I mean, because there could be some amazing things happening that are positive as well. We don't know all things in time and space.
Good point. Thank you for reminding me of that.
Yeah. And that's what enlightenment is, right? To me, it is living from that space. It's not about not taking action. It's not about not, whatever you're doing in the world, but it's about coming from that loving, that space. Yeah.
I like that.
When we circle back to our topic, right? Like of actually, this trap or this illusion of chasing spiritual growth, like enlighten so like chasing versus being.
Well, I like to think of the practices that I'm doing, that my morning ritual that gets me connected to my higher power are maybe it's a little of both. Maybe it's a little chasing and a little being. Maybe I'm just kind of sorting this out as I talk, just being honest with you, that I like to think of them though, it's just helping me to cultivate that connection to the oneness that we talk about, that we're all one. And so it's just helping me connect to that. And I think I would say years ago, I was definitely chasing it. Definitely. I wanted it because I have met people that had it and I wanted it so bad. So I was willing to do whatever it took. And, go to meetings, do the work that I was assigned, all these things. So I'm honestly, I'm having a tough time sorting out if that was chasing and what's so wrong with it if it was, because I didn't have the capacity to realize at that time that I was already connected and I didn't have to do anything. I recently, I would say in the last couple of years, I really started to understand that I need do nothing to prove myself. Mm-hmm. But before I didn't know that, honestly. So
that's amazing. I think that you just saved our listeners like how many years of practice of striving, because that's why we're here, is to talk, for us to be with each other, because I love my Lemonettes, for us to learn from each other as we're on this podcast, and also to share with our listeners. So just to jump ahead a couple of steps. Yeah.
Have you ever seen the Dalai Lama?
No. Mm-hmm. Not. Have you?
Well, not in person.
Not in person, but I've seen him, I actually follow him on Instagram. He's my friend on Instagram.
No.
But he is just so dang cute, and he's got this big smile, and he's always smiling. And I was thinking, like, what would the Dalai Lama do with the people that they're sending to El Salvador? He would probably say, I don't know if this is right, or, I hope this is we're better human beings than torturing people, but it would not take the smile off his face. And it would not change his peace. Like, that is his enlightenment. That is the place, his being. That's the place he's in.
That's beautiful, Melissa.
Don't you think?
Yeah.
Yeah. It doesn't touch. It doesn't. I can't say that I experience it all the time, but things bounce right off. Like, it cannot penetrate. I mean, it's just, I guess it's hard to describe if you haven't at least had the holy instant consistently, is the best way to describe it. You know, I think we've all experienced the holy instant, or there's holy bliss.
Yeah, define that for our listeners.
Yeah, when you're, it's basically just being present, 100% present, right? Mm-hmm. And exuding and absorbing love and light. Mm-hmm. Even if it's just for a glimpse, one taste of that, then you know how the Dalai Lama is able to do it, because it's just that, but it's consistent. So if you can get there, and then you can understand all the things that we're practicing, forgiveness, acceptance, it's just taking off the layers so that we can do it not only in an instant, maybe next time it's 10 minutes, maybe next time it's an hour, maybe next year this time we're able to do it weeks at a time, but it's all still the same thing. Just in that very moment, nothing can penetrate or take away the joy and the bliss and the love that you feel.
Right. And there's also a quote, and I don't know it. I wish I knew it verbatim, but essentially it says, what's the difference between not having enlightenment and being enlightened? It's just realization. There's no doing. There's just realizing that you already are enlightened. And then that's all you need, which I love.
And I heard another quote too, that the difference between an enlightened person and someone that may be on their path to enlightenment is just how quickly they can recover once they get out of the flow. Mm-hmm. And so,
Yes. I've heard Michael Beckwith talk about that. Said not that things didn't come through to try to penetrate, but it's that he can quickly be aware that it's something is trying to penetrate. Like this could really piss me off. Like, this could really get under my skin, and not letting it. Yes.
And choosing love and choosing love and choosing love. So Dalai Lama probably chooses love over and over, over and over. Just
So
there's something else.
There's a great Netflix show with him and Desmond Tutu, and they laugh most of the time. And they're talking about major stuff, and they're just having a great time. I loved it. Yeah. I'm not sure what it's called, but
you got to look that up, because that sounds like a good show to watch. I'd like
it. Yeah, I'll look it up.
I'll tell you though, I was thinking about what you were saying earlier, Melissa. And now I kind of almost forgot what it was you said exactly, but I'll just make the comment anyways. About the effort put into it. And I thought a lot since in the more recent years about why things seemed to come easy to me when I was younger. And it wasn't because I was working hard to become spiritual. I knew nothing about it, right? But it was because I didn't have all the other veils and beliefs piled on top. So there were less things that I had to, so it has nothing to do with, right, the other stuff, right? It has to do with that we put all this stuff on, and now we got to take it back off. So all we're doing is removing the veil, all the beliefs, dismantling them. Whereas a little young 12-year-old, I didn't have many things to unmantle, to dismantle. So it was easy for me to be loving. Like, I just remember being nice to everybody at school, no matter what I felt or thought, or people can be mean and, as teenagers, but I was just always nice to people. And that was just what I feel like was what we're all born with, and what we, how we came into this earth. Did I tell you all the story about when I was in my 20s? I would say probably about 23 years old, 24 maybe. I was at the beauty salon getting my hair done. And I did used to smile a lot. Okay. Like, that was, that's what made me think about it. The Dalai Lama. I did smile a lot. Like, I had a constant, that was my resting face, right? And so I'm sitting there getting my hair done, and my hairdresser has a daughter, and she's about 5 or 6 years old, and she's sitting on the floor looking up at me. And then she asks her mom, "Is that lady smiling all the time?" Lady just keeps smiling.
That's great.
And I just remember that. And it just never dawned on me until someone said it. Like, that was my resting position in life, was to be, so I know that's possible. You know what I'm saying? And it's not far-fetched. I think if we just think that we're doing the work of not trying to get somewhere, but to undo all the damage that we've done to ourselves by believing the stories,
I think a big part of that, Drusilla, getting there, is letting go of judgments too, right? Practicing, doing the practice of now is letting go. Like, because right now there is no past. And if there is no past, then there are no judgments of the past.
No grievances.
There's no grievances. Yeah. There's no judgments, because we're just right now. We're not bringing the past with us. And that's a huge reset button. That's a huge.
When you say there's no past, Amanda, explain to someone listening what that means to you.
So if I focus on now, if I take a minute and focus on my breathing, my brain, once I get into it, we're calling it the holy instant right now, because that's what, that's just the words that we're using to describe that. But in these breaths, my whole attention is on my breathing. The whole attention is on what's going, like I hear a bird is just chirping outside of my window. I feel the breeze coming in the window. My skin is a little cool, right? In this space of right now, there is nothing else. So there is no past, because I'm letting it go completely. It's just not in there, in that breath. And so that's the practice. So that's practicing being present, retraining the mind. That's a lot of what we're doing. We're not chasing enlightenment. We're actually just I love that story you told, Drusilla, because it is about just letting go of all the things that we've learned to practice being right now. Did I answer that question? Whoever asked it.
Perfect.
I'm practicing being present so much, I'm forgetting what we're talking about. Like, when somebody says something, I'm like, "Oh yeah," and then like it's gone.
Yeah. So funny you say that, Amanda. I felt in the last few weeks that I can't remember anything, and I'm like, it's on purpose. Like, I can't remember shit. Like,
I love that.
Yeah,
That's a good way to approach it.
Yeah.
Hey, the documentary I was referencing a little bit earlier was the mission. It's called Mission Joy, Finding Happiness in Troubled Times. It was created in 2021, and it's the documentary based on the deep friendship between Archbishop Desmond Tutu and the Dalai Lama. So perfect timing because I believe Desmond Tutu has passed away now. So that's probably a pretty powerful film. And with the times we're going through right now, I think that's just another troubled times as human beings.
Could be, maybe not.
Yeah. Maybe.
Oh, thank you.
We don't know.
And it's so funny. Like my view, like I hear my community very worried and upset about what's going on in the world right now. And I just don't feel it. Like, I just know that everything is working out perfectly. Right. I just know that so deeply, like none of that hurts me. And so like on a large scale, I got that. But the other day I bought a new pair of shoes. I hardly ever do that. And my dog chewed them up the next day. And it was hilarious. I just lost my cool. I didn't beat my dog or anything like that, but I went right into blaming my husband for not being a good dog parent. Like it's just funny how things show up. So like, and then I was like in my anger yesterday and I was enjoying it. I didn't get out of it. So yeah.
Yeah. My daughter said to me this morning, "You're on one, Mom." I'll go, maybe I am.
In a little funk. Is that what she meant? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I wasn't as loving and as kind as I usually am. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I want to circle back to the holy instant.
Yeah.
So Drusilla, are you saying, I want to just make sure that I understood what I heard you say. So you're saying the holy instant is just being 100% present at this moment. And that's the holy instant. It doesn't really matter what's going on. It's just that you're present to hear the bird chirp or the dog bark or the wind on your skin. Am I capturing that?
There's no thoughts of the past or the future.
Oh, okay.
And full acceptance of the present, wouldn't you say?
Mm-hmm.
What did you say, Melissa?
Full full acceptance of the present moment.
Oh, I like that too.
So again, going back to the Dalai Lama, he is having full acceptance, probably knowing this is an illusion, the world, probably knowing that humans are creating their own suffering, probably understanding how all that works, how illusion works, and understanding that that's just happening and choosing and accepting at the same time, choosing peace and happiness in the moment.
To me, the
moment is in the moment.
Mm-hmm.
So it never shifts.
Mm-hmm. And that's really like the quantum physics, why there really is no past and there's no future, because it's only what you're looking at is what is the reality, which is the present.
To me, that there's another aspect of it is in being in completely present, to be in the holy instant is tapped in, right? So it's tapped into whatever I believe that, in that connection, right? I believe
source, you mean?
The source, right? Tapped into the space between all of the molecules and the atoms, right? Like if you're going into the quantum physics, it's the tapped into the in between. Who said that earlier? I was like, I love that. I think Drusilla said something about it.
It's the gap. It's what they call the gap.
Now that space between the notes.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's the holy instant, is tapped in, because in that moment, if you're tapped into everything, then all the knowledge, all the wisdom, all of the next right steps are unfolding. And that's for me, that's the reason that I'm going for enlightenment, is because I want to be tapped in. Right. I want to be living in joy, not just happy, not just like, of course I want to be happy, but I want to be in joy. Like I want to know the peace of the world. That's why I do. That's why I'm on this path.
I'm right there with you.
Yay.
And there's no doing to do that.
Yeah, we need to do nothing.
There's no doing to do that.
No doing to do that.
I think that's going to have to be a post-it.
Yeah, it's definitely, we're going to see that again. So let's just talk a little bit, since we're, coming towards the end of our time, like striving and searching and doing. What's the difference between that and then practicing?
There's a Zen parable that talks about the hand pointing at the moon. And so the fingers, the finger pointing and the fingers down are your practices. And the moon is really the nothing the being and the nothing and the place and that peace it represents the gap, the space between the breaths, the space between the music, the quiet, all that. And not to get stuck looking at the finger, keep looking at the moon.
Mm-hmm.
So these are just the finger's just your practices. These are just the ways to be one with the moon and not to get stuck in the practices.
That's deep.
That is.
Yeah.
So deep, we don't have anything else to say.
I know. Okay.
Drop the mic. We're done.
We'll go to the moon.
So
now.
for me, let me try to interpret that to myself. So for me, that would mean, so for myself, and then you can tell me if I'm focusing on the moon or not. So for me, it's when I'm doing the lessons, the A Course in Miracle lessons that we're doing right now, the whole goal of that to me is it's the twofold. It's the remembering who I am. It's helping me to remove the beliefs, the old beliefs, the stories, and also helping me to remember who I am so that I stay focused. And it's the awareness of those two things that keep me in bliss.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the moon.
Mm-hmm.
That's your example and your example.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
The holy instant, the moon. Yes.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not that the exercises are doing anything special, except for it's training our minds to stay aware, so that we can know that, okay, when I am in this place of comfort, it feels different than, contrast. We learn through contrast, right? So it's helping us, like Penny, you almost every single day, your lessons are in contrast to, oh my God, any other time I would have done X, Y, Z. And so the lessons are just helping us to focus on the moon. It keeps pointing us back to the moon, even though the exercises are like Melissa described, they're the fingers. That's not really the gist of it. It's just a tool that's telling us where the moon is and to stay focused on the moon. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I get it.
And like prayer is like the feeling you want from prayer is to feel the oneness of the one you're communicating with, the oneness of everything, the power of the holy. And it's not about all that asking in a prayer, all that ritual in a prayer, all the functioning within a prayer. You're really going for that feeling. Penny, you were looking like you disagreed.
No. I'm just processing everything that you guys are saying. And sometimes it's hard for me to feel connected when I pray.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's, I think, what I was thinking as you started talking, Melissa, is that, so sometimes I pray because I've been suggested that is a way for me to cultivate my connection to the present moment, my source, love, whatever it is you want to call it. And I go, okay, I'm going through these motions. I don't really see anything happening here. And so that's where my, that's where the ego, self-will comes into play and is telling me, Penny, come on, you really believe this stuff? What do you think? Who do you think you are? Thinking that there's a power greater than you that can restore you and keep you safe and all this stuff. So that I still have those thoughts at times. Sure. So I'm not completely enlightened yet.
How do you feel when you see, like, when you're taking a walk and you see this huge, beautiful hawk? I'm just saying this because it's what happened to me this morning. This huge, beautiful hawk, and it is being lit by this morning sunrise. That awe, that feeling you have.
Mm-hmm. I have all that. I love connecting to nature, and we have turkey vultures. They're a part of the condor family, and we have cows that live at a pasture near us, and they're having babies, so they have their afterbirth, and these turkey hawks are just floating around in the air, waiting for the cow to move away so they can swoop in and get that afterbirth and eat it up. They love it, and it's just they're just majestic. Their wingspans are so big and they're huge. They're actually very huge birds. But yeah, so yeah, maybe I'm being hard on myself, thinking that I, still thinking I got to prove myself.
Yeah. Or
Yeah.
do.
Yeah.
That is
I'm not pausing long enough. That is one of my issues that I'm working with is I've created so much busyness in my life that I don't have time to stop and smell all this beautiful, abundant life I've created for myself. And it's kind of crazy. But I'm getting it clearer. It's becoming clearer every day. Yeah.
When I'm doing the lessons, sometimes I um I focus on the feeling, like Melissa said. Right when I'm done, I just focus on what it makes me feel like. And sometimes I don't even remember exactly the words, but I can carry the feeling with me all day without making myself, oh, what was that lesson again? And trying to remember the words. And it's just as powerful, probably even more so, I believe, to carry the feeling with me all day.
I agree. That's a good way to look at it, Drusilla. I'm going to see how that works for me. Yeah.
We're back into the state of being again.
Oh. Yeah.
I will have to say, back to the topic of are we there yet? It used to stress me out a lot about getting there and not feeling like I wasn't making enough progress fast enough. But I really don't think about it much anymore. And just to get off the subject a little bit, I do still get pissed sometimes when I hear stories about when we die and go to heaven and there's still more work to do.
Right? I'm like, no, I'm done.
Like, I'm signing up for that shit.
Well, what did the Buddha say? What did the Buddha reincarnate? Like, I don't know, thousands, millions of times. So before he became enlightened.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a journey. Definitely, it's a journey.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I guess stopping and smelling the roses along the way is a good thing.
I can't get the visual of the turkey buzzard eating the afterbirth. That is in there.
Yeah.
Well, they just happen to show up this time of the year and the cows happen to be having their babies.
I love it. That's being present, right?
Totally.
Well, I grew up on a farm.
Yeah.
And so I have no problems talking about farm stuff. So yeah.
That's why we're 5 lemons laughing. Oh, and we miss Morgan today. She's nice.
Yeah.
So we're surrounding her with love and she'll hopefully be back next week.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I could share my Post-its.
Yay. I love the post-its. My favorite time of the call.
Yeah. So, I mean, boy, this is a very deep episode. I feel that we just are completing. And for me, and so I think I'm sorting out some stuff in my mind. So enlightenment is a consistent state of awareness and being in the flow. That was one thing. And then I loved when it was shared that living from a loving space, enlightenment is like being 100% present in love at all times. And then we talked about our practices train our mind to be in the present. And then I'm not quite sure how to write this one, but I wrote it. There's no doing to do that, which means getting into the present moment. There's no doing to get into the present moment. We just get into the present moment. That was a hard one. I couldn't quite figure that one out. Well, thank you so much for tuning in to this episode. If it resonated with you, we'd love for you to spread the love by liking, sharing, or subscribing to our channel. It really helps us to reach more amazing people like you. So if someone in your life could use this episode too, share it with them. Pass it along, share the joy. We would really appreciate that if you could do that. Right now on the squeeze, that's at our 5lemonslaughing.com, we have a new moon self-love and intention setting journey that you can participate in. So go there, check it out. There's some guided meditations. It'll help you to deepen your spiritual practice potentially. And you can just do the journaling exercises, and there's more. And there's more coming. We're spreading our wings this year, and we're creating more content for you to be able to look right at you, Amanda. Oh, man. Okay. Yeah, definitely 4 lemons laughing right now. Okay. So again, we love hearing from you. Good thing Drusilla edits these. Oh, goodness sakes.
Yeah.
We do love hearing from you. So share your thoughts with us. Your feedback is invaluable. And your presence here really means the world to us. So keep coming back. We'll keep laughing. I can't look at Amanda right now.
We love you guys. We love all y'all.
You guys.
So until next time,
Good to
keep
see you
laughing.
soon.
And most importantly, may love guide you in all that you do.
Yep.
See you all next week.
Bye.
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 Bye-bye.